Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming to our third monthly meeting of the year. In September, yes. And due to pandemic and all the other issues we had to skip 5 last meetings. And of course, we now have our meeting in July. So here we are in September. We expected a lot more people. Typically, we get twice this many people, and today having a very important speaker, we expected about 3 times this many people. But since we thought turnout may not be so good, we decided to record everything, and with our speakers, audit and permission, we will be able to send you all his speech and all the briefing what happened today. Before we start our meeting, can I ask John Myers to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Would all please stand? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to this flag of the great state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, John. And can we have Bobby now for invocation, please?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for the many blessings you've given us. We thank you for allowing us to assemble together like we have tonight. We thank you for the blessings that we have of being able to live here in the country of America, Lord, the country where we have an immigration problem with people wanting to get in. Lord, just bless us as we move forward. We ask a special blessing on all of our law enforcement officers, those that protect us, the EMT folks, any of the first responders, Lord. We ask that you protect them especially, Lord. Right now it seems like there's an air of indifference and an attitude of pain in that direction, Lord. We ask that you comfort each one, let them know that we love them, we honor them, and we appreciate all that they do. We ask a special blessing on our president and all of our elected officials, Lord, because they have an important part to play. A lot of the folks here in this area are important in leading our community, our state, our government. We ask a special blessing. It seems like Satan has just made a special effort to be amongst a bunch of our people in our country. We ask that you fend him off, Lord. In 2 Chronicles 7:14, you tell us in the Bible, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and forgive their sins and heal their land. And we hope that can happen, Lord. God bless us.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Bobby, gentlemen. Okay, we skipped 5 meetings, 6 months.
We skipped a minute.
But meetings were just part of it. We've been doing a lot of work in the background. And a few things that have transpired in the last 4 or 5 months, I'm going to try to summarize here. First, our last meeting was on February 20th, when we hosted our very famous congressman from Collin County, Van Taylor. That's right. That event costed us close to about $700, more than what we typically have. Typically, most of our club members donate pledge money to cover the expenses. I think it's not covering the whole page, but there were X number of people who pledged. Total was $635. Today we have collected $385, just to give you. And people, because we haven't been having meetings and all that, a lot of people who had pledged were not able to cover up their pledges. So that's the status of it. After that, we had another event, unfortunate event in July. Our very dear friend and past president of this club, Jim Boxwell, passed away. So we all got together and we decided to donate some money to his charity in his memory. we had total $300 we had decided to donate to charity, which was, I think, Children's Hospital. Is it correct? And again, we had $300 pledge. One thing I'm just highlighting, African American Club, Fred Moses was outstandingly stood up and he pledged $100, he already paid. So we are almost there. Paul's check, he called me this yesterday, he's in the mail, so we are almost there. Also, past this August, last month, we had a lot of clubs supporting the block walk for the Republican Party candidates running for the election. Our club decided to support two weekends block walk, each 20 walkers. It cost us another $100. We used that our club's general purpose funds. So that's overall what has happened in the last 3 months. Next slide. Yeah. Zoom in, that's yes. And as we are always required, have at least once a quarter our board meeting, which we did have it. It was on Zoom, third quarter meeting on August 22nd. This is just highlighting the things that were discussed and debated. Before Jim's time, we had 2 different accounts. One we were keeping for online, the other one was managed by our treasurer. And since he's gone, we are trying to combine all into one and simplify the operation. So that's one of the action we took. That process has been given to Dollard to take care of it.
And
He's been making pretty good progress.
Yeah, we've made a lot of progress on it. We've got most of the web accounts and everything under control. We're still lacking a couple more, PayPal, or domain registration, and Facebook accounts, but everything else is consolidated. When we get the rest of the accounts under control, we can merge our email databases, and we'll have to get that done.
Thank you. Next one, consolidation of new members' email address with MailChimp. We use MailChimp for blasting emails to all our members and other people. Somehow that is not in sync with our new members. They come in, sometimes our new members miss getting the emails or updated news and all that. So we are now in the process of automating our new membership database with the MailChimp, so people won't miss their.
Now that we have the accounts under control, we
Yes.
should be able to start that process.
Yeah, that process has already started, and we should be able to complete that by the end of next month's meeting.
I hope we can do it
Yes. Okay.
by end of next month.
That's another progress we have made. At the meeting, we discussed about, what went on at the RPT RPT, Republican Party of Texas was in July, right? So there's no need to go over again, but John Myers gave briefing to the board of directors what went on. Next election, of course, Colonel West was elected the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. And from our Collin County, we had Abraham George, and Maggie became representing us at SREC. Also, subsequent to that, Jim Pickle got nominated to be delegate to 2020 Republican Party electoral delegate. When after the election, electoral college meets, Jim Pickle is going to be representing us there. Finally, another item that's been given to David to take care of it is hosting some joint meeting rest of this year and early next year with other big prominent clubs in Collin County. So these are basically the items we discussed. If you have any questions? Yes, John.
Rob, I just want to give a real quick shout out to one of our members. This individual is actually responsible for all of the Collin County Republican Party events. And as most of you all, many of you attended a hugely successful Labor Day rally and event in Collin County. And congratulations, shout out to our own Mark Rutledge.
Okay, another big event that took place last Friday was very successful. Collin County Republican Party has started doing annual golf tournament, and we call it Patriot Golf Tournament, PGT. It was very successful. We had room for about 100 players to play, something like 110, 115 wanting to play, so we had to turn some people down. But anyhow, can we go to the next?
Who was the chairman of that?
Yours truly. Not only that, I had the support of very large contingent of our our CCRMC members who participated and donated their time as well as money to make this successful. And one of the things we did there was a lot of people sponsor hole.
Anybody win that TV?
And we took picture of it as well as video of it so that everybody knows what went on, so we can keep it for history. And some big time elected officials went and sponsored hole. And I got one picture. Our next speaker, our keynote speaker of the day, he was kind enough and generous enough to donate $1,000. This is his whole sponsor picture right there. I think it was in hole number 11 or 12. Okay,
Where's that TV now, though, Robbie?
sir?
Where's that TV now?
We don't let it won it.
Oh, that's another hole sponsor. What happened was, we had 18 holes, 20 people wanted to sponsor. 2 other people, we turned them down. So we had 20 people, we had 18 holes, and we put one sponsor, hole sponsor in front of the golf course, one at the end, and then they're empty. And unfortunately, on the day of the tournament, hole number 4 and 5, we could not play because of the rain before. So we had to double up. So this is one of the reasons why we had double up on this one. 16 hole. Yeah. So that's another hole sponsor there, by the way. That's not a hole sponsor, that's a hole in one. That's a hole in one. $4,000.
Robbie, can you mention where half the money went? Because that's important.
No, it hasn't gone, but it will go. Of the net proceeds, half the money stays with the general purpose fund of the Collin County Republican Party. Other half of the proceed will go to operations once in a lifetime. That's a non-profit veterans organization right here in Collin County. So once the books are balanced and all that, we feel it will be a substantial amount of money. We do not know exactly how much. I think probably 45% of the total gross was our expenses and all that, lunch, dinner, and tea time. So the remaining, we will divide half and half. That's what we stand. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's in summary what has taken place in the last 6 months. Next is our keynote speaker for the day. A good friend of mine. I have known him ever since I joined the Republican Party, I think well over 12 years ago. He's been active in the Collin County. Jim Skinner. I'll tell you a little bit about him. He is law graduate of University of Houston. I took a lot of courses there back in the 70s. He's been 30 years in Collin County in law enforcement, first as a trial attorney, then as a prosecutor. Now he's the chief police officer, our sheriff. He joined President's Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice System, I think sometime last year. In January this year, White House invited him to join the Commission on Human Trafficking. That's a big deal. He is chairman of the Texas Sheriff's Commission, Texas Sheriff Legal Committee. And then in the last 3.5 years since he's been our sheriff, he has arrested well over 130 human traffickers.
Wow.
Yeah.
more than ton of illegal drugs. Thank you, Sheriff.
So it's great to see so many friends. It's this pandemic and all that's been going on, the social unrest and all this thing kind of knitted together. It's been a little bit crazy. Somebody asked me earlier how it's been at the sheriff's office, and I think the easiest answer is it's just been busy. Okay, I mean it's really been busy, but I've had a lot of really good help, and not just in the sheriff's office. Okay, my hats off to Judge Lindsey Wynn, who's here, and the rest of our judges. I got to brag on the judges just a minute. I'm in a situation at the jail where, because of the pandemic and because of the exposure, and this thing can sweep through the jail like a forest fire. The judges have really worked with us in regards to releasing certain people who are nonviolent, and that we could slap an ankle monitor on and track those people on a daily basis, and then keep the really bad ones with us, trying to keep the population numbers down, because it's important. Because what's happened is when the governor's orders went into place, the governor stopped accepting people at the state penitentiary. So right now I have over 300 people in my jail right now that should be in the state penitentiary. But I can't take them there because the penitentiary's not accepting them. For the same reasons that we're concerned about, right? This thing's sweeping through the jail. So we went for many, many months, up until just last month, and we didn't have any infections in the jail. We were the only jail, one of the few jails in Texas where that was the case, and the only large jail in Texas where that was the case. But eventually, we got to the point where we were overcrowded. I had to ship people out. I made the U.S. Marshals come pick all of their federal inmates up and these kinds of things, because I just don't have any more room, right? And we're in the middle of a jail expansion, so we're working on that problem too. But this goes to show you that what we're used to in Collin County, and that's that smooth criminal justice system that just chugs along, like a Swiss watch, and everybody works together, that even a pandemic, social unrest, and all these other things, everybody still has the ability to work together. I think it speaks well of our judges and our law enforcement and our citizens, because without you guys, we couldn't do this. So before I get started, I'm gonna blaze through a lot of information, because you guys want to see what's happening at the sheriff's office, and I'm gonna blaze through this stuff. You can absorb it as I go through it. You're gonna get it. I don't need the chapter and verse a lot of it. I want to cover a lot of information. But before I start, I want to tell you this, and I couldn't be more sincere. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to serve as your sheriff. Every day, I get up and I drive in from Farmersville, where Ellen and I live now, and I thank my lucky stars. And I think about you folks, because what you've done is you've given me the opportunity to lead some really brave young men and women. And they're selfless, and they do this job, a very difficult job, especially in these circumstances, every day. And so I appreciate you. All right, so we're going to get started and kind of go through this thing. This is the Collin County Sheriff's Office. This is a drone flyby. You've probably never seen it from that perspective. This is the administration building here, in which we have our intelligence section, CID, records, dispatch, operations, all of these operational forces here. And then, of course, this is the detention center, in which I have 16 different pods, if you will, clusters that are inside our containment area at the sheriff's office. I typically have about 1,000 inmates in custody there. We've been as high up to 1,175. You can imagine what that was like. I'll never allow that to happen again. I can tell you that because we try to manage these things. We're short-staffed. I have over 30 openings right now in the detention center, because this is just a job nobody wants to do. We're talking about the mentally ill. Well, it's not uncommon for my detention officer to be assaulted by the mentally ill inside the facility. Who wants to go to work and get beat up, right? Wow. But we spend a lot of time training and working through, and we have far fewer incidences than, as we compare constantly ourselves against other jails, across the state of Texas. We passed 33 consecutive jail inspections. Sheriff Fox did an awesome job building the foundation and the infrastructure for us to build on into the future. For the last 3 years while I've been there, we've had 3 successful jail inspections. And if you know anything about how the legislature's been down in Austin, one thing you know is that the jail commission, my God, they're pretty tough on you nowadays. Okay? But when you walk into our jail, you see a jail that, by first appearance, you can probably eat off the floor, it's so clean. Well, that's just reflective of everybody's attitude, their work ethic, how things go across the entire system. Remember, it's not just the jail, but I also have a jail over in the basement of the courthouse. When people have to go in front of Judge Wynn, we move people throughout the walls of the courthouse constantly, every day. Okay, and we have a detention center in the basement of the courthouse. So it's something as a citizen when you visit the courthouse that you don't see, but it's something that goes on every single day, day in and day out. All right, so we have over 1 million residents. We're the 5th fastest growing in the nation. We're projected to surpass Dallas in 2050. And what does it mean? It means as we get bigger, we have more services that we have to provide. That's a constant challenge for me. Every single day, I have to evaluate all of these different communities. We patrol 500 square miles of territory in Collin County. Okay, so our service area is 449.8 square miles of Collin County. You want to know what that looks like? There you go in the red. These are our patrol sector districts outlined here. The way we break up our patrol functions through the county, everything you see in red, I'm responsible for direct law enforcement services for. The rest of these areas, of course, are bigger cities. They have a police force, but we're still very active in those cities. Okay, for example, we created a fugitive team. When I took over, we had a little over 1,100 fugitives from justice that were still outstanding. We created a specialized team that's worked over the last few years. We've knocked that number down to just a little bit over 100 now. They, of course, work throughout North Texas, they work, across Collin County in the North Texas region. Here's my biggest problem. MUDs and SUDs, all the development. You see what's coming up is the municipal utility districts, special utility districts. Each of these is a housing area that's popping up in Collin County. Each of these want police services. So here's been my position. I can't do it all, right? I reorganized the patrol operations when I first came in to Collin County. We went from 5 people on shift to 13 on shift by going across the sheriff's office and taking resources from other places and reassigning them. We cut the response time on priority calls from 20 minutes down to just a little bit over 9 now. Well, if you're needing help on a priority call, 9 minutes is still a long time, okay? And we only have so many people to do the job with, but each of these is a housing area that's coming up. So they're densely populated and packed in there, and it's something that we have to be concerned about. So my position with these MUDs, like the big ones, Trinity Falls here, they want full-time police presence because they have so many people packed in there. And my position is if you want it, you raise the money and you pay for it. I'm not going to put that on the back of the taxpayers across Collin County for that to happen. It happens in a municipal city where they raise taxes and pay their police departments. If you decide to create a municipal utility district or a special utility district to be like a mini city, then you need to take on the responsibility of providing law enforcement. Other than that, you'll fall within our general scope of response and you'll fit within that 9-minute response time. So we see some of these individuals here.
Is Trinity Falls not in McKinney then?
No, sir. It's not. It's in their ETJ. The city's not going to take them on because the debt ratio is so high.
And they're MUD.
That's right. And so what happens is, we had a homicide out here last year. Well, who works that? We work that.
Right.
And we have to do all that. And we would respond to any law enforcement call out of here. But if you want somebody full-time, you need to pay for that salary of that officer in a car and put him out there. So they've been great. And we're going to be bringing on another deputy and assigning a full-time deputy out here at Trinity Falls. So these are just some of the new ones that are coming on. I want to talk to you real quick about interdiction. Many of you know that several years ago when I started, I came on as sheriff, I told you I was going to start an interdiction unit. Deputies are specially trained to get out on the highway, and what are we looking for? We're looking to stem the flow of narcotics and human trafficking into the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Okay? Because it's a perfect place to bring them. You ask any of these judges that sit on the bench, Constable Edwards in the back, others involved in law enforcement, This is a consistent problem that if you don't stay on top of, you'll just get eaten alive behind the scenes. So what I decided to do was to start a unit. We started in Collin County. We were very successful right out of the box. I went to the sheriff in Grayson County and I said, Tom, join me. We can have more highway. We can run this thing all the way up to the state line in Oklahoma. He did, and we were very successful. We made a lot of interdictions and knocked down a lot of drugs. The sheriff in Rockwall got a hold of me. He said, look, can I join this thing? I got I-30 out here. Yes, then the Hunt County Sheriff, then the Smith County Sheriff, then the Tarrant County Sheriff. Wise, across we go. So now I have a system where these counties in green are part of this agreement. It's not a task force, okay? It's not a task force. In the legislature this year, the legislature proposed, the governor approved into law, a law that says as a sheriff in Collin County, I can support a call for help in any county in the state of Texas. If another sheriff somewhere in Texas says, Sheriff Skinner, we need some help, and you guys want me to be the right kind of sheriff, if it's the right circumstances, we're gonna go help, okay? And so with that, we were able to have an agreement where I can sign an agreement with these 8 other sheriffs, and I allow deputies from these other counties to come into Collin County and to operate on our highways. And my deputies operate on their highways. But what they do is they run as a wolf pack. They all run together. I'll tell you, in the last 72 hours, here in Collin County, we recovered 78 kilos of methamphetamine. Listen, I have to tell you that for me, it's just one of those things where I expect this to happen, because this is how successful this unit has become. It's now nationally recognized across the United States. I was asked to speak at the International Associations of Chiefs of Police conference this week by Zoom to the entire body and talk to them about our successes with the North Texas Sheriff's Criminal Interdiction Unit. The president, of course, has asked us to come up and be visited with them to discuss trying to take this system that we kind of incorporated and working together in a collaborative fashion, and doing this in other major cities across the United States, because it seems to be a formula that works. Why does it work? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, no sheriff involved here in any of these is ever going to fight about money, right? I'm not for sure, but I think it's about $250,000 maybe we captured on southbound drug money headed to Mexico just in the past 30 days. But we never are going to fuss about an asset forfeiture and how it's divided. Everything is equal. Doesn't matter how much you participate, doesn't matter if it's your guy or somebody else's guy, it makes the stop and applies for the forfeiture. It's not going to be fussing about money. Second thing is, we don't talk to the media. My point is that why would I get up here and be the big man in town and say, look at all these drugs we got on the highway, and just educate the cartel? Right? It's not going to happen. So none of the other sheriffs will do it either. I love my brother sheriffs. I appreciate them. We all have the same thing in mind, because what we know is that every time we knock those drugs down, our crime rate continues to go down. Okay, we've got a 64% reduction in crime. You see our crime statistics in Collin County over the past 10 years. Okay, we've seen a major drop since we started interdicting the drugs here. The price of meth has tripled. Okay, tripled here in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. So I think that's significant. So these are the guys, the knotheads, that are out there doing it. You notice they all wear the same uniforms. They all ride the same slick top cars. They all have Sheriff's Criminal Interdiction Unit on it.
Do they train together?
And they don't say what county they're from. Okay? They all train together, they work together, and so it's been very successful, and I'm proud of these guys in what they do. What's a byproduct? We've been able to save some kids. Okay? Kidnapped children, and we've been able to save some human trafficking victims at the same time. And so, let me give you some numbers. This is a little dated, but imagine almost a ton of methamphetamines. And like anything new, when we started, we're stumbling around in the dark trying to get it figured out. But boy, these guys are on a regular deal now. So when you think about all these weights involved in actual narcotics that have been seized just by these guys in criminal interdiction, think about the number of arrests that they've made. 336 arrests, and about 325 of those are bona fide drug couriers, mules, money launderers, all connected to organized crime. Okay? Most of the cases that we make with large seizures, we contact the DEA and we turn those cases over to the federal authorities for them to take and do what the federal authorities do. Okay? And it seems to be working very well, and we have every intention to continue to do so because we know it makes our community safer. Okay? U.S. currency, we captured about $4.4 million in drug monies headed south, destined for Mexico. About 38, there's a picture in here a little bit. We captured 38 automatic weapons, 3 abducted children, 81 stolen vehicles. You can see these are tires, and they're hollowed out with metal containers around, the thing that's full of methamphetamines. I'm going to show you a movie. We're not going to go through the whole thing because I'm going to cut it off, but it'll give you an idea of just the kind of stuff that we're seeing out there on the highway when we work the highways at night. Okay, go ahead and play that. You just put the cursor on it, it'll come up over here. Sorry. 287 coming out of Amarillo is a major thoroughfare for marijuana and THC products that come in from California, Washington, Oregon, and California, okay? And Colorado. So it comes on down, hits Amarillo, they hit 287, come on south into the metro. A lot of these guys are transitioning the United States going from the West Coast to the East Coast or to the Gulf States, the Eastern Seaboard, also drop down and come through the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex too, okay? Not all of these are Mexican cartels. There's other gangs in the United States that do this, of course, but they don't operate 10 foot without, them having the blessing of the Mexican organized crime. A lot of these vehicles that you see in these drones that we captured have very sophisticated traps inside the vehicle. I could give you a crowbar in the parking lot, give you 12 hours and say, I'll be back, and you find the drugs inside the car. 100 pounds. There's 100 pounds of drugs in the car and you find it. My money says you wouldn't be able to find it, even with a crowbar. Okay? And a license to tear the car apart, you wouldn't find it. That's how sophisticated these people are in the traps that they build inside these vehicles. But our deputies are very specially trained, and many times they'll find these things and actuate these actuators, and a false compartment will pop out, and that's how they find these drugs.
Dogs also.
We use dogs as well. This was a motorhome that was rented by a Chinese national couple here in the Metroplex that we stopped, and it had like 650 pounds of marijuana in it.
Good job.
It's hard to ride down the road with 600 pounds of weed and not know.
I heard there was a highway maintenance truck imitating doing drugs.
If you can imagine it, we've seen it. I tell you, the slickest one I saw, except he did it at the wrong time of year. It was a guy with a trailer, and he had all his grass cutting bags in the back. He's doing down the road, lawnmowers and all. Of course, all the bags inside were just bales and bales and bales of marijuana, right? The problem was he just did it at the wrong time of year. It wasn't grass cutting. So my deputy said, that doesn't look right. So anyways, we're going to move on. This goes on. I want to show you this slide real quick. All of these agencies, I'm working with the leaders of those organizations because they've requested us to work with them on training.
Wow.
The U.S. Department of Justice and the cops in Washington, D.C., the cops program are financing all of it. They're financing all of the travel and overtime and everything else that's associated with it for our deputies to go up there with them. We train them, and then they come down here and they embed with our deputies. They hop on the right side of the pickup, and they go to work with our deputies for a couple of weeks, and they've gone home, and we've seen very big successes in these agencies that we've worked with. This is my trip to the White House, where I was invited by Ivanka Trump to come up and visit with them in a meeting, and then they asked us to come out on stage and talk. And I took just a few minutes of my comments. And so these are the comments that I made.
So I'm gonna jump to the sheriff for a second, because you opened the prosecution door, and I'd like to understand from you, Sheriff, what are you doing at the local level? Have you seen any changes over the past, over your career, and how we confront this issue? And
Thank you.
why you're committed to it?
Yeah, thank you. And it's an honor and privilege to be here with you today. Coming from Texas, of course, we have a tenacious governor who's made it resoundingly clear that every level of government, all the way down to the local level, will be involved in the fight to end the scourge. I want to tell you a story about 8 sheriffs in North Texas that banded together in order to fight human trafficking. When I was elected in 2017, I met with 7 other sheriffs in the North Texas area, and we sat down and talked about what are those things that we can do to stem the flow of narcotics and human trafficking across our counties. And what we came up with is, first of all, listen, we understand that what happens here is the very same transnational criminal enterprises and gangs that are trafficking narcotics. These are the people that are trafficking humans. These are the people that are continually victimized and drug addict these victims in order to control them. We also understand that as sheriffs, that the one advantage we have is jurisdiction over long pieces of road in our counties. So what we did was we decided to band together to sign an agreement with one another that extends the jurisdiction of our deputies into each other's counties. You don't see that done very often. And what happened was we took specially trained deputies who were trained to detect those indicators for human trafficking and narcotics, and we turned them loose. And I'm happy to tell you that in just 2 years, what they've been able to accomplish is they have seized tons of narcotics and dangerous drugs, millions of dollars, weapons and ammunition are being smuggled south, destined for Mexico. They've recovered almost 100 stolen motor vehicles. They've discovered loads of human cargo and commercial motor vehicles, 18-wheelers, and most importantly, they've rescued children. I want to tell you 2 quick stories about that. One of our deputies northwest of Fort Worth, late at night, stopped a vehicle with a 15-year-old girl in the back seat of a vehicle occupied by 2 middle-aged men who did not know her name. And she did not know theirs. And she had been reported missing by her parents the week before in San Antonio. We had another case in which one of our interdiction deputies out east of Dallas on the interstate made a traffic stop and discovered that the woman driving the car was wanted for capital murder in Los Angeles. He arrested her. There was a 5-year-old in the vehicle. She murdered a man 2 days before in Los Angeles and kidnapped his 5-year-old son. And we successfully rescued that child. All of this makes it work for us. All we have to do is one time look in the face of a human trafficking victim or someone who's sexually exploited. And for law enforcement, it makes it all perfect. So from the local level, what I see is where in the past, perhaps, maybe that county was that sheriff's domain. We've decided that that's a day gone by. My brother and sister sheriffs across Texas, Governor Abbott and the legislature have passed laws that now allow us to work across county lines that are even not contiguous in these types of matters, and we're taking advantage of it, and we're going to continue the good fight on the open road.
Thank you.
So that was quite an honor. It was a privilege to go up there and talk to them.
So I'm gonna jump to the sheriff for a second.
We heard you. So we heard you. There's the other thing that I did in Collin County was I created a child exploitation unit, and I know the judges are very familiar with our work.
Yes.
Because I'm very proud of our judges, because I can tell you that there's some justice meted out to people who intentionally stalk these children for purposes, their own sexual purposes. And this is not the county to come for that, okay? Because you're going to probably get handled a little rough. I created a unit with 3 people who are specially trained. They spend a lot of time online. Any time of the day or night, 7 days a week, these people are up and working on cases. We're identifying people who are trying to lure children through social media and online into meetings with them so they can be sexually exploited. We have arrested 158 people thus far for solicitation, 215 charges for possession of child pornography. We've arrested, like I said, a couple hundred people and charged them with serious felony crimes because they are coming to Collin County thinking that, they're going to take advantage of a child. And it's my commitment that when it comes to the elderly and it comes to kids, we're going to do everything that we can to protect that group. And so I'm very proud of our CEU folks. We did some operations, undercover operations, Medusa, Operation Zeus, Operation Atlas, and Operation Athena, in which 61 of these people were arrested in undercover operations. In the last 48 hours, our folks have executed 3 separate search warrants on 3 additional defendants and have collected evidence indicating that these people are at the same type of activity. This is not done by myself, okay, by any stretch of the imagination. So I want you to look through here. These are all these people that have worked with us, working these cases. We have a secure area at the sheriff's office. It's a controlled area where only a few deputies can go into where they work. It's a big computer systems area, that's set up especially for them. We see a lot of people from other agencies, that do similar work that come and work with our people hand in hand. And so I'm proud of that collaboration between everyone. I'm going to show you this real quick. I debated whether or not to show this, but I'm going to go ahead and show it anyways. I was invited to come to the White House by the president to speak about sanctuary cities. I have a very strong opinion about the rule of law, and maybe it's because I'm a lawyer. But listen, everything breaks down if we don't, understand and respect the rule of law. Okay, and it starts from the top down. So when you have, I'll let the video speak for itself rather than me go through here and explain it. I was asked to come up and address a subset of sheriffs in the United States who, for whatever reason, didn't think it was their job to follow the law. And I have something to say about it.
Of course.
You have to put I think here you have to.
A lot of people don't know that even Plano was a sanctuary city.
What?
Really?
I'll answer questions in a minute, but first, I'd like you to hear from a couple of our partners. First off is Sheriff Jim Skinner from
It's hot up there.
Wow.
Good morning. My name is Jim Skinner. I'm the sheriff of Collin County, Texas. That's in the northeast quadrant of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I am the legislative director for the Sheriff's Association of Texas, and I also serve on the legislative committee for the National Sheriff's Association. So howdy from all the sheriffs in Texas. I want to first start by thanking President Donald Trump for his leadership seeking rational and meaningful immigration reform. I also want to thank Matt Alvitz for his dedication on matters of border security and for his ongoing efforts to remove criminal aliens from the United States. Lastly, I want to thank my fellow sheriffs from across the United States and other law enforcement officials for all that you do to fight crime and protect our citizens. You put your lives on the line every day, and we're grateful for you. All one has to do is to look at the nightmare occurring on our southern border to understand that all Americans are safer when federal, state, and local law enforcement officials cooperate with ICE in their efforts to remove criminal aliens from our country. Not all aliens are dreamers whose parents brought them to the United States in childhood. As a matter of fact, a substantial number are criminal aliens, persons who have violated other United States law. And make no mistake, they are a threat to public safety. Like thousands of other sheriffs in this country, I oversee a county jail. When I check the files of inmates under a federal immigration detainer request, I find that they're most often charged with crimes other than being in the United States in violation of immigration law. To be clear, they're in my jail because my deputies and other local law enforcement officials have arrested them based on probable cause for violations of state and federal law. In these circumstances, to help keep our community safe, it takes effective communications and close cooperation with ICE to close the loop. We know that too often, in the wake of these criminal aliens, are left nothing but a trail of victims. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to meet with angel families up on the west side of the Capitol. These are folks that have lost their loved ones at the hands of criminal aliens here in the United States illegally. As I looked into their faces, I saw the pain and the anguish that these people are experiencing because of the death of their loved ones. They have pictures of their daughters and their wives and their husbands and their grandparents, and most importantly, their children who have perished at the hands of criminal aliens. It makes me ask myself when I see this, what is that oath that you took? I'm a part of the thin blue line, along with every other sheriff and every other law enforcement official in this country, federal, state, and local. I raised my right hand. I took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the laws of this country. Well, I expect that as law enforcement officials, we all understand that, and that we all going to work hard towards that end. So in spite of the fact that a peace officer may work in a jurisdiction where politicians or lawmakers are willingly ignorant or willfully blind to the rule of law and our God-given rights enshrined in our Constitution, we, the law enforcement officers, are the ones who must ensure that the rule of law is respected and adhered to. My word to them is push back, be brave, remember your oath. Remember that your first responsibility are the citizens that you serve. In these times, it's that collaboration between federal, state, and local law enforcement that best enables us to protect the communities and the citizens that we love. There's two ways to cooperate with ICE. The main two ways, of course, are compliance with the federal immigration detainer request that Matt was speaking about a few minutes ago, and then, of course, participation in the Section 287G program. Both of these are vital. And both of these are vital for any community that's interested in keeping their citizens safe. To honor our oaths, we have to be willing to work with all levels of law enforcement in order to protect our citizens. We're thankful for ICE, and we're thankful for the invaluable service that they provide to the citizens across this nation. Like so many other state and local law enforcement officials across the country, in Collin County, Texas, I'm better prepared to serve my citizens and my communities because of my relationship with ICE. We are grateful for the men and women of ICE. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheriff Wayne Ivey of Brevard County, Florida. I don't have a howdy or anything like my.
You just heard when you're not from Texas. No, look, I'll sum it up by saying this, and I have pretty strong opinions on it. First of all, I just want to tell you, we're safer today than we were the 1st of January 2017 because of President Trump. You better know that. I was trained to be objective, and the reality is that we're able to do things here because of the policies that have been enacted over the last 4 years to make you safe. And that's just the bottom line. And you have to be a moron if you don't understand that it makes no sense that you want to abolish ICE. I mean, it's just doesn't make sense. All right, so we talked about the patrol reorganization. We'll just skip through this. We restructured everything. We have more folks. As you can see, we have different uniforms. I was going to go home and change and put on my blues and come out tonight, but we got so far behind on a project that we're working on. It's going to pop in the next couple of days. I just didn't have the opportunity to run home and change.
No, you look good in this.
Yeah.
You look good in this.
We're moving in pickup trucks. We're moving in pickup trucks because we can store more gear, our weapons, our riot gear, all the things that we need with us in the field. Active shooters changed a lot of that. We're having all this go on. We need to be able to field a lot more equipment. So if the subject ever comes up and you hear it talked publicly, I really would appreciate your support to make sure they understand that as we rotate out old police vehicles, we need to try to fill back in pickup trucks, because pickup trucks really give us the ability to take everything that we need in the field as opposed to going back and getting it and then coming back. Detention facility, I have 327 in the jail. This is essentially the way it's broken down. I will tell you that the 1st of January, we're going to go to 12-hour shifts in the jail.
Wow.
Because I think I can cure my retention problem. That's why I have openings, it's retention. People who join, there's people that join within the first 2 years, are people that leave us. So what the Collin County Commissioners Court did in this year's budget is they approved my plan. I asked them to please pay each new employee a $3,000 bonus and stagger it out over a 2-year period. Because if we get into the 2 years they're with us, they're invested. Okay? I mean, they're vested and they're with us and they want to stay with us. Okay? The attrition rate happens up front. So if you make it through FTO, you get $500. 6 months, you get another $500. On your 1-year anniversary, you get $1,000. In 2 years, you get another $1,000. Plus, that brings them equal. They make less money than other jails locally, but with a 12-hour shift and that bonus, it brings it all on par. So we think we have.
What do they make?
I'm sorry?
What do they make?
$41,000 a year.
Is that medical?
Well, pay for your money. So we're really targeting the military, the United States Marine Corps, and the Army. I have a Marine Corps Sergeant Major Pareda, who is a police officer, a very decorated officer, who, I'm running out of time. Okay. Anyways, we're going to shoot through this, but we're going to target the military because those people have those values for a paramilitary organization like ours. We think we'll have a lot of luck with them. And it's been welcomed by the military. The commanding generals on these bases are very excited that when the pandemic winds down, to have us out to try to, capture, the attention of some of these young troops to come to work for us. This is our referral bonus that we were talking about. I want to tell you real quick about the honeybee farm. I know, I'm not crazy. What we did was, guys, is, we farm, and all the food we raise, we use to help feed the inmates in the jail. It helps reduce our expenses and tax dollars for food inside the detention center. This year, I got raised on a farm as a kid that we had honeybees, and that's how my grandfather used to help pollinate his crops and all that kind of stuff. So we talked about it, and I asked my detention officers in the SCORE and the Valor unit. These are the military veterans that get into trouble and they come to a specialized unit that we have, and SCORE, Sheriff's Convicted Offender Rehabilitation Effort inmates. They built this bee aviary here, and with the help of Lyndon and Blaine Shook at the Texas Bee Supply, we started 12 hives. And so we were so successful, we've already had our first harvest. It's really cool. They bottle them in these really cool bottles with the wax top and all that kind of stuff. And the inmates get to use it in the jail. And it gives them a skill that when they get out of here, they can go to work the next day, because these beekeepers are very much in demand. Plus, it's amazing to see the confidence that they get by learning how to do something like this. Okay? I'm out of time, all right?
No, you have time. You have some more time.
Okay, well, let me start the dollar program. I'll just play the video and let it explain it itself.
I pledge allegiance to the flag,
Service to country.
with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
It isn't just a pledge. For the people in this room,
You solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this cause will be the
These
truth,
inmates are also bee farmers. Wow.
service came at a price.
It's my understanding that you intend to plead guilty to that offense today. Is that true?
We aren't showing their faces
You've been in jail for, 20-some days?
or naming the defendants.
Offense of driving while intoxicated. How do you plead guilty or not guilty?
They are all veterans.
And I told you if you wanted to do it the Air Force way, go down the hallway and do it the easy way.
He's a Marine.
Good enough. But if you wanted to do it the Marine way, you wanted to do it the hard way, you come this morning. All right, welcome to the Collin County Veterans Court.
John Roach Jr. Resign.
Hey, did you lose some more weight? Oh, come on. Come on, let's go.
Oh, no.
We got guys today that you'll notice who are in
Is that
blue
a
and white.
potato roll?
Of a unique
Okay, so these inmates in the blue and white, you see blue and white fatigues that they have on, these are the Valor inmates.
Want to repay the blank check that they wrote to our country.
Judge Roach
They're different in jail.
and Collin County Sheriff Jim Skinner
Well, we both served.
can relate.
The fact of the matter is, veterans both know, and we were taught from the beginning, you don't leave a brother or sister behind.
Whether it's the battlefield
It's a lot that you really can't describe.
or the legal system,
My deputies constantly see in law enforcement across the United States encounter veterans who are self-medicating because they found themselves in a situation where they're trying to ease the pain. But when we see a group of veterans together, you know that they do much better together.
that's why the Valor program was launched late last year at the Collin County Jail.
A new rehabilitative and therapeutic program that incorporates aspects of military culture.
Shoes shined, hospital corner sheets, and reminders of where they came from. The jail's Valor Pod is shared space for veterans who share some of the same experiences.
The unique thing about this is there's a certain aspect of unity, and that's something that we always had in the military.
Colt Floyd went through the veterans court system after coming home from his second deployment.
I think it just kind of become so much of a burden that it all kind of came to a head, and it took me having run into the law to get me kind of turned and headed in the right direction.
Colt is a success story.
Look at it already.
Now he works for Veterans Court and the Valor program.
I think I signed the relief papers.
Justice isn't black and white.
Kind of a hard case to start with, aren't you?
In here, justice is red, white.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where you're headed.
In McKinney, Noel Walker, NBC5.
So this has been a great relationship between our office and Judge Roach and you and Kim and our adult probation and parole folks. I have very strong feelings about this. I think that when you break the law, there's consequences, and that you have to be man enough to stand up and take your licks and pay society for what you've done. Okay, but at the same time, you can do it with honor. Okay, and you can work to try to bring yourself back into society the right way. And we try to help them. We encourage them. We mentor them. I always go out and see Valor once a week, call everybody around, take a knee, try to give them a pep talk. We play reveille, retreat, taps in the Collin County Jail. Okay, and I can tell you that the inmates who are not in the military, they love it. Okay, so we just try to bring them back to that time when they had all that discipline, and it really helps them through their rehabilitative process. Detention Intelligence Unit, just so you know, I started Detention Intelligence Unit. Where do you think the best information in the jail is? It's with the inmates, right? Where's the best information about what crimes are taking place in your county? It's in the jail. Okay, so because of that, we created a Detention Intelligence Unit. We work it pretty vigorously. We did solve a capital murder case in Princeton based on information that had been developed in the jail by this unit. So I'm really proud of these guys. There's our dogs. We're going to be getting 2 more here pretty quick. And are there any questions?
Well, I want to ask a question, Sheriff Skinner. In the news, we hear a lot lately, especially about the doctrine of qualified immunity.
Yes, sir.
I would like to know, and I'm an advocate of it, I want to make that very clear, but your value as the sheriff of the county, how valuable that is to you and your officers, and what impact it would have if it was in some way modified or nullified.
Yeah, I just wrote an article for a national publication. I don't know whether they'll use it or not, but I do have pretty strong feelings about qualified immunity. Let me just break it down. First of all, from a legal perspective, it doesn't make sense to do away with qualified immunity. Without getting into a law lesson here, really, I guess my view on this is that as a society, if we're looking for a way to redress injuries done to people by government actors, we should probably be focused on the issue of sovereign immunity, okay, and not qualified immunity. Of course, that's a lot bigger pill to swallow, especially for the taxpayers and for lawmakers. But the reality is that if you do away with that protection that a person like myself has to make in less than a second, okay, when I think that I'm acting under color of law, there won't be anybody standing in a uniform or running for sheriff or doing anything else.
To take the risk.
Because people will abandon this. And we already deal with the issue that several hundred of us die every year, by accidents and being murdered and shot and stabbed and everything else. And we accept that as part of what these people do. It's part of our nature. But I'm not gonna expose my family, right? And my kids and everything that I hold dear, because I'm the kind of person that thinks that I can contribute to a safer society, and I get out here and I have an encounter with you and I make a mistake. It's important. And it's important. So qualified immunity is an important doctrine. I don't personally think that it's going anywhere, but we'll see.
Any volunteer program at the county?
Yes, sir. I do.
Speak up.
Is there any volunteer programs at the county? Great question, and we do. We have a Citizens Academy at the Sheriff's Office, and then after that, after you attend the Citizens Academy, there's a means by which you can participate with a group of volunteers that work with us across all sections in the Sheriff's Office. We find many different ways based on a person's experience with them to work to help us, and so we're very grateful. Plus, we have a very robust reserve program. We have almost 50 deputies that come from all walks of life, CEOs of companies and everything. These guys are reserve police officers, deputy sheriffs that work for us, and of course, I can't tell you the millions of dollars they save us every year, what we'd be paying otherwise in salary. So,
What do they do for you?
they do everything. They work patrol, they work intelligence, narcotics, they work, sometimes they work with our ghost unit.
They're actually deputized then.
Yes, sir. They're full-fledged police officers.
They can buy a police car, right?
They do, and
That's how you want
when they're in their job, working whatever it is under their business code, they got a badge and a gun, and the authority to act as a deputy no matter where they are.
Well, I want to ask a political inappropriate question.
Well, I don't know.
With all of and we know we're good friends, and you've done a hell of a good job. Okay, my hat's really off you. You know that. Now, your budget. Are you getting the necessary funds that you need for equipment and manpower? And can we help you with Commissioner's Court in some way?
Well, that's a great question. Always a great question. And I'll say this to you, that I've had a good relationship with the Collin County Commissioner's Court. They've been very dialed in and in tune with what I've asked them for in our needs at the Sheriff's Office. And they've certainly met my expectations as far as financing those things that we need. I've done many things at the Sheriff's Office in which I've slashed a number of different things, saving millions of dollars. And so it makes that conversation easier when I go to them and I say, this is the real need that we need. Now, what's it going to look like in the future? As you know, they've run an effective tax rate for a very long time. At some point, is that tenable? Is that going to continue? I don't know. Well, you know me well enough to know that if the time in the future comes that I think that public safety is going to get left behind and the citizens will suffer, I'm not the kind that's going to be quiet about it. I'm just not.
One more question.
But I'm just so we're clear, I've been real grateful. And remember, we're seizing drug money, right? And we're using those funds to buy cars, computers, everything else rather than you pay for it.
That's awesome. So just
one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask real quick, where do the tips come from, or the indicators and triggers when you see cars on the road for interdiction?
Well, interdiction, just to give you the Reader's Digest version, what happens on interdiction, you're speeding, I stop you, I have a conversation, I say step to the rear of the car with me, I'm writing a warning citation, I'm having a conversation with you. And I know based on your reaction, what you're answering your questions, and what the other people in the car say, I know very quickly, in a matter of minutes, whether or not you're lying, right? I mean, I've been at this long enough, I know. And if you're lying to me, there's probably a reason. So then I ask you if you've got contraband in the car. But then you can really see it. So usually there's a dog in close proximity, the dog is a search, alerts, search,
Can you use that?
handcuffs, jail, see Judge Lindsay, you know.
Judge,
Hey.
the judge had a question.
Can I just say something about you real quick?
Uh-oh.
Okay, because I'm also a former prosecutor, and I was in the Crimes Against Children Division.
And she's a tiger too.
And, but when the sheriff came on, you know, their officers, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but a lot of the sheriff's officers will go out and they will help all of our smaller agencies investigate those really heinous, egregious crimes that are committed against our kids. So all those crimes, like the physical and the sexual crimes that are just awful, they go out there and they assist those agencies and actually do the investigations. And not only that, they go out there and they do a lot of training. I mean, I remember your guys going out and training at the CAC and training our educators and just really being out there in the community, making sure people knew. So, I mean, it was really important. I mean, Neil had a very strong
Yeah,
presence.
listen, they're really professionals and they love their job and they understand that for every one of these people they get, they're saving children. I just real quick, and I just gotta tell you, when were you appointed to the bench?
Last year, 2019.
Yeah.
So.
I can tell you, this is one of your superstar jurists in the future right here. Okay? And you do. You're on the ballot this time, and I'll tell you, folks, really need to do, you can go down and find Lindsay Wynn and check that box for her, because she is a superstar. And,
Okay, Sheriff.
Way to there.
Sheriff, I'm going to act as a detention officer today. Can I detain you there for a few seconds, please?
Sure.
Alright. I have one comment and one question for Sheriff. First comment is, before he ran for election, I felt like highly honored to introduce him to Indian community at Fair Park, 2 times in 2 years in a row.
Yes, sir.
I felt that was my honor, and I feel like that was the best thing I did for us, for our Indian community, as well as the Collin County community at large. He's one of the best sheriff we ever had. Question to you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Last Friday, we were lucky to have 4 of your deputies come and play.
Yes, sir. They came in second place.
Yeah, that too. Did they enjoy it?
Actually, did they get first place?
Second
Second.
place.
Any
They were
comment?
listening. I told them to go get first place.
Okay, all right. Before we give him honorarium for today's talk, can I ask David Nidakon come here, please? He's the guy. He's the culprit for setting this guy up for this.
We've been working on this for 7 months. It's been exhausting.
But he has been a tremendous partner in setting up program. He's a program committee chair. He's done a very good job. We had a little bit slow start, but we got to know each other and we're doing a dynamite job. We have future speakers coming. They're going to be very, very dynamite. We're working together. A small token of thanks. Can I also ask my chairman to come here, please? Chairman, yes.
Anything to be on the stage.
Sheriff, our small token of thanks for your safety and health and your senior deputies' safety and health. Can we have a...
Thank you, thank
Yes.
you. You know what? That's very cool. I don't know what's in the box, but I know this is a good start.
It's a pistol.
Look here, folks. Now that's a face mask.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go. I'll make it work.
All right.
Hey,
That's
let me say this.
seasonal.
Thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor to serve. Appreciate you very much.
Quickly, Tim McCord, our financial guy, can you quickly give us a report? Will we stand?
Are we broke or not? Just tell us.
Approximately $2,000.
You got a blue magic marker. Put the blue line.
We'll be back at about $2,000.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Eric, membership committee report. You have any new members today?
We have Larry Stickney, and I've got to figure out a way to pull that out of the.
Larry, please
so,
stand up.
I don't know if Larry's He's not here today,
Okay.
but he's signed up today.
But he's a new member.
I mean, but he's a new member, right?
Is he the only one since?
So far, I think out of my list, right?
Okay, thank you.
I just work here.
I think we're ready for Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we
go.
Judge, you wanna give me a hand, please?
Me?
You get this face away.
Oh, I do.
Okay. You're up, please. All right, now let's draw the number. Well,
She can do both here. Be the judge.
Wait. Whoa! Some people didn't get a ticket. Can we, anybody miss a ticket?
Justice is not concerned.
This is-
Everybody get a ticket. Get a ticket. I got one that lost.
Keep your hand down. Keep your hand down.
Wow, there's a lot.
Question change.
Sure. Who else?
Sheriff, Skater back there.
How is it? Ticket.
Hey, Bob.
Are you looking for any detention officers?
Yeah.
I do have detention officer experience. Do you know where I can help?
You got the sheriff here.
I know, right?
And you got the constable here.
He's traveling right now, so I'm thinking that's not
I know, how are you doing?
Of course. You said you didn't get a
You're all dressed up today, huh?
Look who I was coming to.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, of course.
Anywhere where I'm talking about.
Oh, he did. He always
Wonder what kind of stuff you
Sure.
What matters is playing girl.
Anybody else?
Everybody got a ticket now?
Everybody good?
Boots don't. Time to spin the wheel, Judge.
All right, here we go. Are you sure?
Spin it here.
Good.
Giving good?
All right.
Big money, big money.
All right.
But I love the dots that he's got. That's a good spin.
Sorry. Maybe I was doing push-ups.
Richard, is that a perpetual motion machine?
There we go, we're getting close. Oh.
Oh, it's
Oh.
going.
Oh. Okay, number one.
Number one.
Okay.
No, wait, it's not done, it's not done.
This is a lot of pressure here. Oh,
Oh, my God.
all right.
Okay. All right, everybody got your ticket. Last three numbers, 472.
Ah.
Wow.
There you go, sir. Thank you very much.
Way to go, Judge, man.
All right, thank you.
We have one more small comment from our Collin County Judge from Court of Appeals. Please.
Howdy y'all, Bill Whitehill, it's an honor and pleasure to serve you as a justice on the Texas Court of Appeals. We will be on the ballot in November. Keep it very brief, but I want to let you know what we're up against. All the judges that are on the ballot this time. Many of y'all were around in Texas in the 1980s. I was trying cases back in the 1980s when the judicial system in Texas was a national joke. It was on 60 Minutes. Businesses were fleeing the state because of the way the justice system was working. Beginning in the late 80s and early 90s, we started electing Republican judges, and we have a very solid, well-respected judicial system today. But an example of what happened in the 80s, there was a case decided in 1985 that said rule of law. There's some elections that happened in the meantime. In 2 years, a new Supreme Court, 180 degrees, changed the law. In trying to explain what happened, this is what one of the judges said. The concurring opinion asked how this case is any different from the one we decided 2 years ago. The answer to that question is that the makeup of this court has changed. The people speaking through an elected process have constituted a new majority of the court. And this is the punchline. This was the attitude that they had, the Democrats. We must be willing to expand or limit the law dependent upon the perceived ills of a changing society. So it was the judiciary that was going to come in and make the policies around the state. Okay, and that was a problem. So several days ago, I received an email from Judge Amy Clark Meacham, who's running to replace, to try to defeat our Chief Justice Nathan Heck. And in this email, they're talking about it's a very close race. She says, if you want to help restore fairness to the Texas Supreme Court, join me. Well, I was kind of offended by that sentence because it suggests very strongly that there is no fairness in the Texas Supreme Court today.
Amen.
It gets worse. As poll after poll shows, we are so close to electing ethical judges. Up and down the ballot, who will create a more fair and just society? The judges are going to create a more fair and just society, not the legislature. Not the legislature. They want to elect judges up and down the ballot who will create a more fair and just society where every Texan is afforded equal justice under the law. Well, I agree. Every person should have equal justice under the law, and I think we're doing a really good job of that. But she's talking about fundamentally transforming the judiciary, and we have some experience with fundamental transformation, and that's really didn't work out well. And we don't want to do that, particularly at the Supreme Court. We don't want to do it at the appellate courts, and we don't want to do it in the trial courts. We want judges who are committed to the rule of law and understand that they're not to legislate from the bench. The legislation job is over there in the legislature, right? Our job is to make sure that the voters have the ability to hold their legislators accountable to the words that they use. Because when judges legislate from the bench, they are stealing your vote for the policymakers in the legislature. So this is what we're up against, and that's why it's so important that everybody here, I know we'll all get your votes. And that's great, we appreciate it, but we need you to get at least 10 other people to do it. And we need you to hit the email list and talk about your Republican judges that are on the ballot at this point in time. Those email lists are so important. They're incredible vote multipliers. Your friends, family, everybody you know. The social media, start sharing websites. Take a picture of our push cards or business cards, or somebody's got these 4x8s out here that you might want to take a picture. And put those on social media as well. That's how we're going to win this race. We're going to win these races, but we need your help to do it, because we can't have judges who are going to go legislate from the bench and create a more fair and just society from the bench.
Our past chairman, George Flynn, any other person running for election this time around, please come here. George Flynn.
I'm unopposed.
Yeah. Please.
Blessed.
First of all, there's some of you I haven't met, and it's really great to see every place I've been with Republicans, I'm seeing new people coming in. It's really, really great. It shows all the enthusiasm. I want to double down on what we just heard from Bill from the Court of Appeals. I just finished an interview with my opponent. I do have a Democrat opponent. I'm George Flint, running for the 401st District Court. My brochures are in your table, on your chairs. And to try to find out whether we're going to get an endorsement or not. And quite frankly, chances are they'll endorse the Democrat. They generally do. But what was very interesting was what she had to say. And that was that our court system in Collin County, it needs to be fixed, which comes as a great surprise to many of us who realize our judges are among the best in the state.
The best. Best courthouse in the state.
And I mean, and we practice
Never
other
seen something
places.
so good in my whole career.
And then admitted that she has never tried a case before a judge or a jury in Collin County. She lives here, which is why she's running here, but she felt like she couldn't get a good shake here, so she tries cases in Denton County and Dallas County. And on top of that, she works for a corporation, so she's a corporate attorney. As opposed to me with 40 years of broad experience in trial court, including having written an amicus brief for the U.S. Supreme Court in one of the early Boy Scout cases. So the choices are clear. Somebody that wants to fix it and follow whatever it is they ate for breakfast, or somebody that will dedicate themselves to following the rule of law and the evidence that's presented. And yes, deliver justice. I ended my interview with this. I want everybody that comes before me as a judge to know they're respected, that they're heard, and that they had their day in court. And they may not like the outcome, but they're gonna know why. And that's, and I pledge that to you all. Please, 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 again, I'll follow up on what Bill said. I just finished a runoff, and I thank you for you people who voted for me. We had a landslide, it was great. But I learned something, and that is the power of texting. In the last 2 weeks, I had people, tons of people, not just on social media, not just sending emails, but picking up their phones and saying, have you gone to vote? And my wife and I did that to 40 people we had on our phones who we knew. And guess what? 22 of them hadn't voted. And they know me. So at the end of the day, it's people like all of us that will drive the vote to vote all the way down the ballot. And guess what? If you don't know one of the judges and they have an R beside their name, don't skip it because you don't know their name. They've been vetted. They do a good job. Vote for them anyway. Because I promise you the alternative is not good.
Anybody else running for election?
Judge Webb.
No, please.
Thank you. I am Judge Lindsay Wynn. I am one of your newest judges. I was appointed last year, October of 2019. I served the county for nearly 10 years in the DA's office. I think y'all heard a little bit about that. So I tried well over 100 cases to Collin County juries. So I'm very familiar with the courtroom. I love the courtroom. I love being there. I will tell you, I am here to work. I've been working very hard. I do have the family court and a CPS court. I just recently found out that as of the end of August, I've already disposed of over 2,500 cases in Collin County, and that is with I've been working remotely, I've been working in the courthouse, I've been doing everything I possibly can to continue to make sure our citizens are getting their matters heard. It is that important to me. I understand how important it is, and so I am there to work, I am there to hear those cases. I would really appreciate your support. I do have a Democrat opponent as well. And so again, I am here, I want to, just like Justice Whitehill said, I am so appreciative that you were here, and I'm so appreciative you shared that, because it is really important, guys. I think we've got a really good group of judges who have worked really well together to not only follow the law, uphold the Constitution, but really make sure people are getting their day in court and getting their matters heard and having justice in the courtroom. That's critical.
That's
and
right.
Collin County has been known for that, and we want to continue that.
You have a website?
I do have a website.
Can you make donations?
Absolutely.
How do they do it?
Keep Judge Lindsay Wynn, or judgelindsay.wynn.com is my website. KeepJudgeWynn@gmail.com is my email. I have an online, you can do online donations. You can make a donation straight to my campaign through a check.
It'd be
Either
helpful.
way, it'd be very helpful. I also have a Facebook page. I have an Instagram page. I just recently had a former, it actually blew my mind, but a former victim of a case that I prosecuted several years ago, saw my signs. She started reaching out on social media, just talking about the impact and how much I do care and how much I really do, like, this community means a lot to me, and I want to continue to serve this community. So thank you.
I want to say one thing. Most of you know me. If you don't,
Who are you?
I'm glad I knew you.
What's your
I want
name?
to share an experience with you that literally happened. Tim, I want to share something that happened literally today and yesterday. Shocked my mind. This is a voter's registration card. Mr. Skinner, voter's registration card. I was in Albertsons picking up some vegetables, and Derek would go back to 7, 8 years. I said, Derek, you ready to vote? And he bowed down and he said, I've never voted. I said, what? I said, you're not registered to vote? And he says, no, how do you get registered? All right, now I'm gonna come forward. I called Neil. I came by today, we had a meeting here, and I came by, and Neil gave me a handful of these, actually 9 of these registration cards. I ran on the way home, I stopped at Albertson. And there was Derek. I said, Derek, here, this is what you need to do, fill this out. He said, well, could I have 3 of those? I said, what? He said, my father, my brother, they want to register, all right? Now, no BS, Gary, no BS at all, sir. I go to check out, right? I got a couple items. And there's Lena. And I said, Lena, you know what this is? And I said, that's a voter's registration card. And she said, can I have one? And I said, why didn't you fill it out? She said, can I have one for my husband? So I gave 2. Now there's a little Amy. I'm not exaggerating this story. There's a little Amy. And Lena turns to Amy. She said, you and Josh, are y'all registered? She said, no. I had 9 cards and I handed out 9 cards to Lynn Albertsons.
Richard, I'll bring you more if you need them. I'll get them from Bruce Sherman.
Well, I'm a pretty damn good salesman, I know that. But the point is, every one of you in here, I never went through that before. Never had such an experience. That's good. But I was shocked, Sheriff, to see our neighbors and our friends that we deal with every day hadn't registered. Now, there was one other footnote. I did ask them if they were going to vote for president.
Before you.
Thank you for the liberty. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all for coming tonight.
Real quick, we should acknowledge at this meeting of all places, what today is. Does anybody know what today is?
Constitution Day.
Thank you. Constitution Day.
Tomorrow.
Texas hero.
See you next month. Thank you for coming. Good to see you, brother.
Thank you, man.
First thing I did this
I'll
morning.
go down Lexington. I'll pick you up more.
Okay.
You're a good seller.